Well, it's official. Dalvin Cook has been released by the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings just posted this a little while ago, and it says, "Thank you." Big picture of Dalvin. Here's the official Minnesota Vikings page. The Vikings have released running back Dalvin Cook, and they say thank you for everything he's done for them. So now, let the sweepstakes begin. If it hadn't begun already, it's going to begin now. So this morning, Emmanuel Acho had a piece where he said what he believes are the top 5 spots where Dalvin Cook should land. Let's take a look at this and react to it.
Top 5 landing spots for Dalvin Cook. At 5, I'm going with the Washington Commanders. Remember, they got a new offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy, a former running back coach. Eric Bieniemy needs to find tools to utilize. Brian Robinson Jr., he's the running back. He overcame that bullet wound last year. And
this ain't going to happen. There is no way Dalvin Cook, in the sunset of his career, wants to go to the Washington Commanders and help them rebuild their offense. Nothing against Sam Howell, but there's a lot better quarterbacks to play with than Sam Howell.
Antonio Gibson, he's a running back as well, but they're both third-round picks formerly. That doesn't mean as much as their lack of 1,000-yard seasons in their short career. Dalvin Cook, 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. At number 4, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. See, playoff Lenny, he's not there anymore. Who do they have? Rashad?
Yeah, they definitely need a running back, but it's the same thing again. You're going to look at Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield. I don't think that Dalvin Cook is going to look at either Tampa Bay or the Washington Commanders. Just doesn't make any sense.
White, but once again, haven't seen a 1,000-yard season out of that young running back. Dalvin Cook is just 27 years old. It makes a lot of sense, Bucks. It makes a lot of sense. At number 3, Arizona Cardinals. Now, James Conner is tough. He's durable.
Why would Dalvin Cook go to the Arizona Cardinals? They're likely to finish last in their division this year, and nobody knows what Kyler Murray's going to be doing. So no, I don't think that the Arizona Cardinals are a fit at all.
And I encourage you to look up his story. But once again, where the 1,000-yard seasons at, young fella? James Conner, like Dalvin Cook, 27 years of age. James Conner, a little bit more of a bruiser. That would be a beautiful tandem. Thunder, lightning, that's a beautiful pairing. Dalvin Cook, James Conner, I like him in Arizona at number 3. At number 2, this is where everybody's putting Dalvin Cook. The Denver Broncos, because Javonte Williams is the lead back.
Who's everybody? Who's everybody that's putting Dalvin Cook with the Denver Broncos? And if everybody is putting Dalvin Cook with the Denver Broncos, why are they your number 2 pick for Dalvin Cook to go to? Yeah, they've got Russell Wilson. Sean Payton is back as a head coach. They're going to be a little bit better than they were the year before. But yeah, they're just number 2. But they may throw him a lot of money. And money talks. So who's number 1?
The feature back there, but unfortunately, an ACL, I believe an LCL injury last year that he is recovering from. Only played 4 games last year. Dalvin Cook could instantly come, team up with Russell Wilson, team up with Sean Payton, team up with Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton. The names go on and on offensively. I really, really like Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually, when you think about it, as he named off all those players: Jerry Jeudy, Russell Williams, Sean Payton, head coach. But I just don't think Denver, unless they're going to throw a boatload of money at him, are in the running for Dalvin Cook. So you know who number 1 is.
To the Broncos, but lastly, this makes the most sense for me, and I might be biased, but I like a little bit of speed. The Miami Dolphins are at number 1. Tyreek Hill's out right. Jalen Waddle's out left. Tua Tagovailoa, he's under center. But if you can get Dalvin Cook in the backfield with Raheem Mostert, a former Big Ten 60-meter champion, he's got burners, but he's 31 years old. He played with me in Philadelphia. I've been retired for a long time. Jeff Wilson, he is in Miami too, but Mostert and Wilson don't have 1,000 yards. The running back Devin A-Chain, he's a rookie out of Texas A&M, a 3rd-round pick. Dalvin Cook makes the most sense in Miami. I got Washington. I got the Bucks. I got the Cardinals. I got the Broncos, but really, I love the Miami Dolphins.
So I don't know about those other 4, but the Miami Dolphins are definitely in the running. So this just happened at about noon or so that he got released. By the time you watch this video, he could already be a Miami Dolphin. He could already be a New York Jet. He could already be a Denver Bronco. It all depends on how much money he wants to be discounted in order to come to Miami. I don't think Miami can afford, a 9, 10, $11 million a year salary. So is he going to come home and agree to take less? If that's the case, if Dalvin Cook will take less money for a chance at a Super Bowl, then Miami is the obvious choice. It just makes the most sense. You got Tua, you got Tyreek, you got Jalen Waddle, you got a star defense with Vic Fangio and Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. You have a team ready to take you to the next level. This team is Super Bowl ready. Broncos aren't. Tampa Bay definitely isn't. Washington Commanders, no chance that they're Super Bowl ready. The Miami Dolphins are Super Bowl ready. And it's where he's from. It just makes the most sense if they can make the dollars work. So like I said, by the time you're watching this video, he may indeed be a Miami Dolphin. I'll be right back.
Wondering what you learned about what makes it safer and how it feels to play with it on.
Yeah, well, I'm still trying to feel it out. So, what better time to feel it out than OTAs? I heard it's supposedly better than the helmet that I had wearing last year. So, if it could be that much more safe, then, why not give it a shot?
So you're not sure it's what you'll go with? Not sure you're still feeling it out?
Yeah, still feeling it out, yeah.
Tua looks like.
So Tua is feeling out what it feels like to wear a new helmet, a more protective helmet for his noggin. And he's trying it out during OTAs. And for the first time, really, he's taken to the podium, the outdoor podium, and he's taking questions about A, his helmet and how he feels, B, what he's done physically to prepare himself for this season, C, he's talking about playing against and practicing against Vic Fangio's defense. So we're going to take a listen to all the stuff that Tua had to say recently, and it's really interesting. And I'm going to show you a little drill they did that a lot of people, once again on social media, are picking all apart. So Tua's feeling out the helmet, and he's going to decide which one he wants to wear, which one protects him better from, possible concussion. So in this next clip, he's talking about what he's doing, basically physically, to get ready for the new season.
So, what are you trying to work on?
Well, I'm trying to work on everything. As much as I'm trying to work on throwing the ball, getting the ball to the guys, being able to push the ball a lot more downfield.
That's interesting. For somebody who threw the ball well downfield last year, he's looking to push the ball even further downfield now.
Getting in the playbook, I'm doing the same with my body, so.
You brought up culture, right? And Coach McDaniel talked a little bit about bringing the right guys in here. How much more important is that than some guy with a little more talent doesn't have the right attitude?
So in case you didn't hear the question from the press, the guy asked him, what's the impetus? What's the thing behind Mike McDaniel wanting to bring the right guys in versus just bringing people in? We've talked about that before. Mike McDaniel loves building the Colts team, and he's not just going to sign anybody. So let's listen to his answer.
Yeah, I think that's really important because if you have someone with talent that does their own thing, it's going to screw up that entire symphony of the offense, the defense, or the special teams. And if you get someone that's less talented but understands what they're doing, their assignment, he's going to be where he needs to be, when he needs to be there, and whatnot. I mean, it's gonna move like a symphony, and guys in the back end are going to be able to help that one specific guy, kind of cover his tracks.
You think Mike McDaniel has watched the Miami Heat play? That you don't have to bring in all these stars, that you can bring in guys that some people would call role players, but they're actually doing the job and executing. You see the difference there? In addition to the personality, making sure that you bring in people who are good men of character. You notice we haven't seen any scandals with the Miami Dolphins whatsoever. That's not by accident.
He's a little... If he's not as good as per se someone else at that position. So
and when you put it,
I've said that from months ago, and I've pointed out, and you guys know what I've pointed out. I've pointed out the Christian approach to what Mike McDaniel has done in terms of building this team. Some people have said, stop talking about it, but I'm never going to stop talking about it. Tua is a Christian. A lot of the guys on the team, Tehran, they're Christians, man. And you don't want to bring some guy who's unsavory into the locker room, no matter how good he is. It's just not going to happen. And so what we're seeing is Mike McDaniel is at the Miami Heat sidelines every single home game, especially during the NBA Finals. He's right there, and he can see what Eric Spoelstra has put together. And I'm pretty sure he has sat back and went, wow, this is what you do. You bring in the guys who can play together, and when they can play together, they can overachieve. So it is working. You can't say that it's not working for Eric Spoelstra. So in this next clip, Tua is going to be talking about practicing every single day against the Vic Fangio defense. And listen to what he says.
I remember I was getting hit a lot. I was getting confused where to go. I think what he does a really good job with his guys is holding shell in the back end. They do a really good job holding shell and, you know, being able to disguise their coverages in that sense. But there's so many nuances to what they do and how they run their defense. So many coverages, you know, it's not just one. There's like a knockoff of like 6 in just one coverage. So you got to know what they're doing. And
see, that's one of the things that I wanted to see happen, was a seasoned defensive coordinator like Vic Fangio coming in and throwing all kinds of wrinkles at Tua, so that he's prepared when the season comes and people make adjustments to the Dolphins offense. He's already seen it. He's seen Vic Fangio back there like a mad scientist doing everything he can to throw Tua off of his game. Iron sharpens iron. If he can do that in practice, it's only going to make Tua better as well. I think Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel expected this when they brought in Vic Fangio and threw him $4 million a year, that it was also going to help the offense. Let's continue.
if you don't, they'll make you pay.
So I watched, just watching today, there seems to be a motion and a shift, at least one, every single play.
Yeah.
Is that a philosophy where you just want to give the defense as much look at pre-snap as you can?
Yeah, I would say it's something that we've tried to harp on last year during our operation. What we don't want to do is go out, get the defense set, and just run a play. Those guys on the other side are already good, and so forcing them to have to communicate, backs, shifting the fronts, just having to force them to communicate. And
that's a big thing. So everyone last year who saw how the offense faltered in the second half of the year, basically after November, and people were thinking that Tua, quote, was a one-read quarterback, and even Matt LaFleur said he saw some adjustments that he needed to make to take away from what Tua was doing because he was throwing to a spot. So now what they're trying to do is implement even more movement so the defenses can't sit back and read what Tua and the offense are going to do. Every single play has to look different, even if it's the same play. Just motion left, motion right. Do whatever you need to do to make those guys on the other side of the line start thinking. If they're pre-planning what their set's going to be, and they know or have an idea that if we jump this route when Tua gets to do X or Y, that's when interceptions happen. So what they want to do, and as you just heard from him, is to throw the defenses off. So this is very interesting. So what we have coming up here is Vic Fangio talking about the defense that Tua just described that he's practicing against every single day. And this is just OTAs. Wait till they get into training camp and all the different things that Fangio is going to throw at them. So Fangio is going to surprise some people here because he's going to say he's not really confident and satisfied with the players he has in camp right now. Check this out.
What has been your impression when you see the players on the field of the talent that you have on defense?
We have some really good talent at some places.
At some places.
In other places, we've got to find the talent.
So right now he's already made his assessment. They had OTAs, now they've had mandatory minicamp, and he's already made his assessment and went, hey man, I got to go out and get some more players. This isn't going to be what I need to be successful. So if they're already working and helping Tua on the offense, it's only going to improve, because Vic Fangio just said, I'm not done yet. I got to go find some guys. These guys ain't it.
So I think it's a good mix right now. Our good players have got to play really good for us to be good, and we got to find the other guys to fill in that play good in spite of their lack of playing time and experience.
So where's he going to get these guys? So, everybody's talking about bringing in Dalvin Cook, and Vic Fangio is saying, hey man, I need some defensive guys. The draft is over. Don't know what free agents are out there. Some guys are going to get cut after camp. Some guys are going to get cut in preseason. He needs to find more pegs for the holes. Not sure. He didn't name anybody, but I've been reading somewhere where people have been saying it's the linebackers and maybe even the depth in the secondary, but he's not satisfied right now with the players on the squad. That is very, very telling. Josh Boyer last year probably would have been fine. We saw what he put out there on the field. Vic Fangio comes in and says, hey, I like what I see. There's some guys that I can use here, but there's a few holes that I need to fix, and they're not here. I got to go find these guys. Did you catch that? It wasn't like I need to coach these guys up. It wasn't like, I think these guys will develop. Nah, out. You're done. There are a few guys on this team right now that Vic Fangio is going to get rid of. He just said it. I have to go find the right players. That is startling. We all saw some defensive stuff last year, and we were like, oh my God, I hope they fix it. Vic Fangio is going to fix it. So I'm not sure if spending a whole bunch of money on Dalvin Cook is in the cards. Like I said, by the time you watch this video, Dalvin Cook may already be a Miami Dolphin, but the look on Vic Fangio's face says, give me a checkbook. I need to go find some guys. Let me know what you think. I'll be right back.
Last offseason doing everything.
Right.
Was this offseason more of a maintenance year?
You can say that, but for me, going into year 2, it's all about, learning the playbook more, understanding what, Tua wants me to be, what Tua wants me to be at on the field, and how just everything operates. Last year for me was it was like a blur. I had to come in, I had to learn the playbook, I had to get to know my teammates, and kind of this year everything has slowed down. So,
well, did you hear what Tyreek just said? He wasn't even ready. He jumped in with both feet, hit the ground running, didn't really even learn all the nuances of the playbook, was just getting ready to know Tua and meet the other guys on the team, and he still performed the way that he did. Can you imagine what he's going to do this year? Just like with Tua, in the second year of the Mike McDaniel offense, this is the second year that Tyreek now has to actually absorb all of the genius and all of the plays that Mike McDaniel is going to be running with this Miami Dolphins offense. That is a scary, scary thing. Let's continue with this interview.
It's really trying to understand, playbook, formations, and routes and route depths and stuff like that. So it's going pretty good.
What was your understanding level last year, percentage-wise?
Man, look, last year I was just out there just balling. You feel me?
I was just out there balling. I was just being me. I was being Tyreek, the fastest player in the NFL, just, doing high school stuff. Okay, what do you want me to do? You want me to do a curl? You want me to go fly? What do you want me to do? The best play was the play against San Diego when he picked up that fumble and ran it. That was serious sandlot football. And he's out here telling everybody, hey man, I was just getting on with getting on.
I was just out there just using all athleticism, just here too, I'm gonna be here, and we're just gonna do that. So
that must make cornerbacks and defensive coordinators around the league go, oh my God, this guy didn't know to play, was just relying on his own athleticism. hey, I'm going to get open. I don't know where on the field. I know you want me over here somewhere, but just throw the ball. I'll get open.
Sure. Should be like a crazy year, not only for me, but also for the other wideouts.
Do you think 2,000 is realistic for you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the added game, gives me quite the advantage. So, yeah.
Now, he's talking about getting 2,000 yards receiving. 2,000 receiving yards. So if Dalvin Cook comes in, that's going to be, something to talk about, because he's going to not get as many carries because Tyreek wants his 2,000. He wants 2,000 yards with Waddle and Tyreek and Eric Ezekama, Cedric Wilson while he's still here, Barrios, all these players out there, and he thinks that he can get 2,000 yards. Whew. Wow. Let's go. Let's continue.
Last year you guys started out on fire,
right?
And then you had sort of a plateau as the season went on. How do you get? And Jalen has talked about this. How do you have a more consistent year?
Obviously, is staying healthy. That's the biggest thing for all of us.
Easy question. Easy question to answer. How do you guys continue what you started in the early part of the season? Simple. Just got to stay healthy.
I feel like some injuries, derailed us from, being exactly where we wanted to be at last year. So just staying healthy, being available, for one another, and just practicing fundamentals and techniques each and every week, and staying accountable.
Coach mentioned some of the things that you guys were lacking last year that could have affected outcomes. He said he's seen glimpses of changes in those things. Is there anything specific that you can think of that you've noticed that you guys have improved majorly in?
Man, I would tell you this, man. Tua has stepped up a lot, in his
So the question, if you weren't able to hear what the reporter said, he goes, have you noticed any changes that indicate to you that the offense, that things are going to be better? And the first thing he said is Tua has stepped up. So Tyreek came in last year and said that Tua was the most accurate quarterback that he's ever played with. And now he's saying that Tua has stepped his game up. That's a really strong compliment coming from a guy who said he was already the best, most accurate quarterback he had ever played with.
In his leadership role,
Bingo. That's what I said in December that I had a problem with. Because of that, people called me a flip-flopper over and over and over again. And what I said in response to that is that Tua wears the C on his jersey. He is the captain. That's it. Nothing else. The buck stops with him. Everything goes through the captain on a football team. You have to be the leader. I felt, as some other people did, that Tua abdicated his role as the leader of the team last December. And I said it over and over and over again, and people got pissed. And Tyreek said, what is one of the biggest changes you've seen this year? And what did he just say? Tua's leadership. That's what I said.
I know last year was my first year playing with him, but seeing him this year, he's more vocal, with the offense.
That's what I said. That's what I said. He said, seeing him this year, he's more vocal. All of you who complained that I had flip-flopped, no, I didn't. If you go back and watch those videos, that's exactly what I said. I said it over and over and over again. Tua needs to be the focal point of this team. He needs to step out as the captain. He needs to show leadership. Just because you're hurt doesn't mean you can't be a leader. That's where everything fell apart. In terms of my perspective, he wasn't leading. And Tyreek just reaffirmed that. He underscored what I said. This year, Tua is being more vocal. So it wasn't me flip-flopping. It was me looking at something and saying, this doesn't look right. From my experience in football, I need my captain to be the most vocal, out in front person that you possibly can be to lead a football team. And this year, we also heard earlier, like a week ago, that he didn't like what the offense was doing. He made the team stay late and practice more. That's being a leader. Hey, guys, we're not done yet. I don't care what the coaches think. Get your asses out here. We still need to work on some things. That's being a leader. Getting out in front of the press. That's being a leader. And now Tyreek just underscored everything I said. I'll wait for your apology. Let's continue.
You know, leading, you know, in group chats and stuff like that, organizing, you know, outside workouts outside of the Miami Dolphins stadium. Because I told him when I first got here, I said, bro, like, you should be comfortable with telling a group of wideouts to just meet you somewhere. Like,
you should be comfortable just telling the wide receivers to meet you somewhere. You should be comfortable. He just said, I had to tell him that. That's exactly what I said. I said, he's not telling people. And people are like, oh, that's not his personality. Well, you need to get that personality. You're the captain of an NFL football team. You're the captain. You need to demand performance from your team, period.
Don't pull up regardless. So he's been doing a great job.
And now he's been doing it. It obviously was something that was lacking. The reporter said, what's the biggest change that you've seen? And the biggest change that Tyreek Hill has seen is that Tua is stepping into a leadership role. Go back and watch my videos. Go ahead and watch the last 4 or 5 months. I said it over and over and over again, and people complained and said I flip-flopped, and he just underscored everything I've been saying.
Although for the whole team overall, is there anything major you guys have noticed?
I mean, I feel like we only gonna go as far as our quarterback gonna take us, you know.
We're only going to go as far as our quarterback is taking us. Right now, you guys have to be seeing light bulbs go off and go, oh shit, now I understand what Barry was saying for the last 5 months. He didn't flip-flop. He was looking for leadership. He was looking for that guy. I wasn't caring about stats. Stats didn't matter to me. Stats never mattered to me. I need to see leadership, and now that's what he's exhibiting. You guys can deflect all you want and call me a flip-flopper, but if you watch the videos and you've heard me talk, that's specifically what I've been saying.
Like, he's QB1, so that's the only thing I watch. You guys have thrown.
So that's it. That, in a nutshell, is the difference between 2022 and 2023. Tua is stepping into a leadership position. I told you that's what he was lacking. I don't know why. Maybe Brian Flores beat him down so bad that he just torched this guy's self-esteem. But after last year, especially leaving the season on an injury, not playing, he had to come back. The whole thing with the Super Bowl stuff. Oh, it was just horrible. And then just being quiet and absent. And now somebody has said to him, maybe Mike McDaniel, dude, you need to step up. We've extended your contract, not extended, but we took your 5th-year option. You need to show us right now you are the man. Forget your stats. Do it everywhere. Do it on the field, do it off the field, talk to your players in private, do whatever you need to do, but show us you are the leader that QB1 should be. And that's it. I couldn't believe when I heard Tyreek said that, and I was watching other people making, YouTube videos and talking about it, and I'm like, nobody's gonna mention this, huh? Nobody's even going to talk about what he just said. You're just going to fast forward it and it was no big deal. You want to talk X's and O's and stuff, but you don't understand what it means to be a team leader. That's the big difference. And if Tua can do that, the health stuff may take care of itself, but Tua needs to be a leader. And you just heard Tyreek say it. So unless you think he's lying, then you can't call me a flip-flopper. Be right back.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, without trying to engage in any kind of ageism at all, because I don't believe in it, there does come a point in time where there are certain jobs you don't need. It's not that you don't need to be working. It's not that you don't need to be living your life. It's not that you don't need to be living a very vibrant lifestyle or anything like that. But there are responsibilities that are far, far, far more extensive than, let's say, the typical 9 to 5 that somebody in their 80s may not need to be doing. I think the presidency is one of them.
He's so right. And I wanted to do this little bit on Stephen A. Smith because it is so important. So many people ask me, why are you broadening your content? Why have you changed and not just doing the Dolphins? Well, I looked at what Stephen A. was doing, And actually thought to myself, why in the hell is he doing this political stuff? Why is he just branching out? Why don't you just talk X's and O's? Why don't you just talk basketball? You're arguably the top journo in sports right now, arguably. And I mean that from a monetization perspective. Maybe Pat McAfee's making more because he's got a whole crew. But nobody can doubt that Stephen A. Smith has been the trailblazer in sports media and has been clearing the path for every single one of us that talk sports for the last 5-6 years. There's no doubt. Stephen A. Smith has allowed us, anyone who does a YouTube show, to be who we are. And now Stephen A. Smith, who was late to the podcast game, now stepped in and went, wait a second. I could see this shift happening. I could see that I can do better on my own, on my podcast, than I can do on ESPN. You know, ESPN is my gravy, but the future is obviously being out there on a podcast. And then he is smart enough to realize it's not just sports. Sports has a very finite audience. The Miami Dolphins are a very finite audience. In order for him to grow, he needed to broaden his content, broaden his perspective. In order for me to grow, I have to broaden my content, had to broaden my perspective, broaden our audiences. I am in no way in Stephen A. Smith's league, but I do know, and I have done enough research to say, listen, this pond is very small. If you want to grow at all, you're going to have to make content that appeals to a lot more people. And that's what Stephen A. Smith is doing. In fact, he may be joustling for a network job on news. Who knows? Maybe a nighttime show. But I just wanted to say that because there's some crazy stuff going on with Stephen A. Smith, and some people are really, really treating him like crap. So he made that clip talking about Joe Biden being possibly too old to be president. And right away, even his trusted supporters started flailing, started screaming. And then Deadspin wrote an article that I think was probably racist in itself. It was unbelievable. So let's take a look at that article from Deadspin. Okay, here's the article. It says Stephen A. Smith's political takes are beyond concerning. They're dangerous. Stephen A. Smith talking to his big audience. It's actually dangerous. We must be stopping him. We must find a way to stop him. These people are absolutely rabid nuts. He's gone off the reservation. It's a black man thinking and talking stuff that black people shouldn't be talking about. You shouldn't be talking about going against the plantation. That's very bad. So it says being friends, and notice how they put that in quotation, with Republicans is one thing. Becoming a pseudo mouthpiece is something different. You stepped out of line, Stephen. You stepped out of line. You're off that plantation. You can't have those kind of people as friends. What in the hell are you doing? We're going to have to stop that. This article is just amazing. I highlighted some of the stuff here. So let's get down here. And they're talking about another day, another bad take from Stephen A. Smith. But this isn't about sports. It's about his transformation into being a mouthpiece or puppet for the Republican Party. You just called, this guy in this article, just called a grown-ass man, a grown-ass black man, a puppet for somebody else. So, you know, I should show you. This is the guy. This is the guy who wrote this article, and you can tell by who he is. He's on MSNBC all the time. He's got the chick from MSNBC in his profile picture. His first thing is here. Then he goes after Deion Sanders as well. So he's one of those guys that just hates black men that aren't carrying the flag for BLM. That's basically what he's doing. And he goes, Stephen A's takes keep getting worse. And I highlighted something down here. Here's the kicker. Before that quote, the one about Joe Biden, Smith declares that he's not trying to engage in any ageism because he doesn't believe in it just before he willfully decides to engage in ageism. So don't even talk bad about Joe Biden. If you talk bad about Joe Biden, then we're going to have to come for you, Stephen. And then somebody named April, let's see who she is. April, basically 194,000. She's co-founder of Sister SCOTUS, whatever that means. here's the thing. Biden is 80. No one is going to primary Biden. Well, Robert F. Kennedy is. Trump, the GOP frontrunner, is 76. Very little difference in age there. DeSantis, the other declared candidate, is 44. So Stephen A. is effectively telling you to vote for DeSantis. Sit with that for a minute. These people are insane. There's just complete insanity and gaslighting running on the other side of the aisle. If you step away from the plantation, if you have a viewpoint that's individualist, that you don't want to be judged and characterized by the color of your skin, but rather your content of your character, that's no good. You have to carry the flag 24/7, 365. And if you're not, you're bad, period. And I'm just so sick of it. So back in this article, here's another one, okay? Another passage from this article. Over the last 2 years, Smith has dabbled more and more into politics, which is his right. But the thing about politics is your beliefs reveal so much about who you really are. Okay. Read that again. Your beliefs reveal so much about who you really are. I hope so. I hope my beliefs reveal who I am. Why? They're your beliefs. That doesn't make any sense. And so far, the revelation feels like Stephen A. Smith wants nothing more than to be a rich white man and all the privileges that come with it. You see how sad that is? You see how somebody steps out and starts doing some different things, and it's not exactly what certain people want, and all of a sudden, that's the racist. This is the guy who's racist. Hey, man, you can't step out there and be like the white man. Don't you understand? By being like the white man, you're leaving us all behind. You're forgetting where you came from. No, I will never, when people have said that to me and they have forgotten where I came from, I will never forget where I came from. Do you know why? Because I never intend on going back there again. That was the reason my parents put me in private school. That's the reason I went to college. That's the reason I opened my own businesses, so that I would never go back again. I have to remember that all the time. My first thing in the morning, my morning devotional, every single morning, my morning devotional is I say my prayers, I thank God, I ask for forgiveness, sometimes in reverse order, obviously, and then I just look at a picture of where I used to live as a child, because I never want to forget where I came from, because I'm never going back there again. Some black people say that's a bad thing. You forgot where you came from. Nope. I'm never going to forget where I came from. Never going to happen. But the difference is I'm never going back, because I'm making the steps that I need to make to ensure that I'm going forward, that I'm not going back, and they don't want that to happen. So let's continue looking at some of the passages in this article here. All right, so Stephen A. Smith said, I'm a proud capitalist and I won't apologize to anybody, nor should you. Why should you have to apologize for your interest in being a capitalist? They put it in here like it's a bad word. It's not a bad word. During the appearance that Smith made on Hannity's show in February, Hannity implied that President Biden has made more mistakes than a twice impeached Donald Trump, who's still under investigation, just got indicted again, did while in the White House. Think about that for a second. Think about that, the guy says. And was trying to coax Smith into agreeing with him. It was an expected move, given that the radio and television hosts on that network rarely invite guests on their shows with opposing viewpoints that have something factual and intelligent to say. What an entire paragraph of absolute BS. And they crack the words so carefully to let you know that everything they say is I just hate what other people think. I can't even imagine that you wouldn't vote for Joe Biden. It doesn't cross our minds. Never mind the gazillions going to Ukraine and everything else, and having to salute the Dylan Mulvaney's of the world. You still are not allowed to think otherwise. And now it says, he goes, do you think the world respects and fears Joe Biden the way that they did Donald Trump? Stephen A. Smith says, no, I'll be honest, that's my feeling. Oh my God, that's horrible. You can't say that. You can't say that and be black. You just can't. So further down here, Smith isn't most people. Now they're going to use his stature against him. The words of a public figure carry more weight. Smith built his television legacy on being, quote, the black voice that kept it real in a white space. That hasn't been the case for years. It's especially even more damaging when you realize that most of the barbershop crowd that listens to him doesn't know the difference between Hannity, Carlson, Trump, or DeSantis. They just know that they're all white male Republicans, and when you befriend one of them, you befriend them all. I hope you could recognize the liberal elitism in what they just said. That to think that Stephen A. Smith's audience is the barbershop crowd. That's it. That's all Stephen, all his 12 million followers and everything else and gazillion things that he does on television. You only have the barbershop crowd. You have those low information black guys. That's absurd. They actually wrote this. And it continues. That's not to say that all the folks in the barbershop aren't intelligent enough to engage in conversation, but when's the last time you've ever seen that happen in a black or white barbershop? You know that black CEOs, you know that black businessmen have to go get their hair cut and have intelligent conversation with people in the shop and who are cutting our hair? Do you think that barbershops are only for the ignorant? You don't make any sense. Never. It's an arena where debates about sports, music, and women take place. Now you've gone into a sexist realm. For the good or the bad, but mostly for the bad. So what they just said in that article is that people who listen to Stephen A. Smith or watch First Take go to barbershops, are Neanderthals, talk about women and music. That's it. Don't talk about anything else. And it's mostly bad conversation. Not my words. Not my words. Right there. Mostly bad conversation. You think this guy thinks a lot of himself or what? And let's see, that's pretty much it. So Stephen A. Smith has become a household name by writing his opinion in columns or delivering takes on television. True. Somewhere along the line, he forgot the first rule of sharing your views for a living, which is that whatever you say sticks with you, even if you evolve and apologize for it. I hope that goes the same for the guy who wrote this article. So when someone whose public foundation was once built on being the voice of the people expands, notice what I said, expanding the audience, into sounding like old white men he used to refute, you have to wonder if we're watching a backward evolution or the revealing of one's true self. Period. A backward evolution or the revealing of one's true self. I don't understand how intelligent people can't allow you to think for yourself. I've been called all the names. I've had all the fingers pointed at me. I even get them here on YouTube and all the different things that the other people don't like you talking about. And now Stephen A. Smith, one of the icons of sports media, is out there broadening his audience. And they're freaking out. They are absolutely freaking out. So I want to play you this clip that comes from Jason Whitlock's show, another guy they freak out about, and you're gonna love this.
That irritated Deadspin, he's a right-wing sellout. Why is Stephen A. randomly talking politics on his podcast? Well, I don't get it.
So people ask me that all the time. You're a Miami Dolphins channel? No, I'm not. No, I started only talking about the Miami Dolphins. I've done some research. I've looked really deep into things, and I see that some of these guys have been doing this stuff for 5 or 6 years, and they're just at this level. And I think to myself, if I keep talking about the Miami Dolphins only, I might get there in 5 years. No chance I want to do that. So you have to speak to a much bigger audience. And believe it or not, people who like football also like other things.
Jason, that's why he got his own podcast. and it's not with ESPN, so he could kind of let loose, let his hands go. And by the way, that's a rather innocuous statement, isn't it? That someone in their 80s stumbles and falls on their face. Is it really that provocative to say, wow, he's getting kind of old? I mean, at this point, that presidency, if it was a movie, would be Weekend at Biden's. Or, I mean, really. Let's just be honest about it. Most people, when they turn 75 and they start to lose their faculties, are not in their physical or mental prime. But this is what I give Stephen A. Conservative a lot of credit. He decided, and I think he made a chess move here, saying, if I wanted to really say what I think.
And this is really important here, understanding that Stephen A. is under contract with ESPN. And of course, there's certain things he can't say on First Take.
And not be restricted. I'm going to have to branch out on my own and create at least a subset of my own brand that is not under the ESPN umbrella. But as for this guy complaining, this is just more whining. This is more complaining. These guys are very childish. The bottom line is this. The headline should have read, Stephen A. Smith said something that I disagree with.
And that's exactly what it should say. And that's what it should say. And even on some of my Dolphins content, Barry Cunningham said something that I don't agree with. I don't need all the other stuff about flip-floppers, and I don't need all the other stuff about he turned his back on Tua. Barry said something you don't agree with.
Okay, and I think we need more people to respond instead of trying to placate these people, because I see this all the time in the media. Again, one of my favorite answers when people say, hey, Steve, how come you retweeted this or that? You just say it like this, very simple. Yeah, and?
Exactly. Barry, why did you say this? Because I felt like it. I mean, is there another reason? I had tweeted earlier something that's really important. I look at every piece of content that I put out, whether it's a tweet, whether it's a video, and my underlying filter is, what would my daughter, my wife, my grandkids say if they saw this piece of content? If it's something that my wife would tap me on the shoulder and go, yeah, you shouldn't have tweeted that, or you shouldn't have said that, then it doesn't get published. That's my Jiminy Cricket. That's my filter. She's always been, for 30 years, my Jiminy Cricket. And she lets me know, don't do that. Step back. You don't need to say that. And then I won't. And now I just know instinctively it's not going to pass the Robin test. And the Robin test is my most stringent filter. And that's why I feel comfortable saying what I say. If you don't like it, well, not much I can do about that. And before I close today, I've got the biggest story in sports up next. I'll be right back.
Stephen A., before he joined Miami, he had 1 million IG followers. Now he has way more than you at 5.3. Tell me, how big of a deal is Messi going to MLS?
Well, 5.3 is not way more than 4.4, which is what I have, just to correct you. But in the end of the day, let me say this to you about Messi. I mean, listen, the guy's 35 years of age, and he was over there in Europe being an absolute superstar. The MLS, as far as I'm concerned, is a G League compared to the soccer that we see in Europe. So to come over here is still near the top of his game. To be in this league is a beautiful thing, certainly.
It's a beautiful thing. This is the biggest story in sports, bar none. Bigger than Dalvin Cook, bigger than anything NFL-wise. Messi coming to Miami, Intermiami, is the biggest story in sports worldwide. Leo Messi is a phenomenon. If you're not familiar with him, then maybe you should. And he's coming to South Florida to play with Intermiami. One of the things that's funny is everybody keeps saying he's coming to South Beach. I don't think a lot of people outside of South Florida understand that South Beach isn't Miami, that Miami is its own town and South Beach is its own town, and they're not the same. And what makes this thing even funnier is that Intermiami doesn't play in Miami. They actually play in Fort Lauderdale. That's where their stadium is while they're waiting to figure out where they're going to build one down in Miami. But they play in Fort Lauderdale. So no, Messi isn't coming to South Beach. He's not even coming to Miami. He's coming to Fort Lauderdale. That's a big difference. and it's a beautiful stadium, and I'm going to talk more about it, but I got to show you the rest of this video with Stephen A. It's absolutely, I mean, it's hilarious.
The United States and the MLS, but the bottom line is also this: a part ownership stake, a piece of the pie in terms of Apple Plus TV streaming service with the league. I mean, you know, it's a beautiful,
big deal, huge money deal.
Beautiful thing. I can't.
In fact, he turned down $1 billion to play someplace else.
Knock him at all. That's what it's all about. Props.
All right, hold on. I have like 8 people in my ear, Stephen A. Because
Now this is funny. They obviously set Stephen A. up when they told him that he had much more followers than him. And he's like, "Nah, man, it's not that much different." Watch this.
I have breaking news. Let me just interrupt. Let's get this cleared up. Can you guys pop me on camera real quick? So, Stephen A., I was trying to joke with you here. Messi himself has 469 million Instagram followers. It was Intermiami, the team, that jumped from 1 million to 5.3.
One dude, one guy, 469 million followers on Instagram. Do you understand how this is a global phenomenon? It's bigger than the Miami Heat. It's bigger than the Florida Panthers. It's way bigger than the Miami Dolphins. Messi coming to South Florida is absolutely huge. I just love the look on Stephen A's face there. It's like, what? 470 million people.
I want to make that clear.
Yeah, he's got way more than you, Stephen A. What happened was...
Stephen A., I had every producer, everyone, like, he has way more than Stephen A., Molly, relax. I'm like, okay, so I want to get that, nugget right to everybody.
He had to give him his props there. He had to, no choice. It's a huge deal for South Florida. So you say to yourself, Barry, how huge is it? How huge is this deal? So I'm going to show you some stuff here about this soccer deal, football. It's so big. And so here we go. This is Joe Pompliano on Twitter saying David Beckham. By the way, David Beckham is the one who put all this together. Genius. David Beckham's move to the MLS is one of the best sports deal ever. Earned $255 million over 5 years, purchased Inter Miami for $25 million. Now Inter Miami is worth $600 million and will only go up with Messi coming here. And now they have Lionel Messi, which will push the club's valuation towards $1 billion. $1 billion. A soccer team, a football team here in South Florida, $1 billion. That is incredible. He bought him for $25 million, and now it's going to be $1 billion plus. And why I say plus is now we got another story from Reuters that just kind of blows the doors off here. Check this out. Messi's move to Inter Miami sends ticket prices soaring over 1,000%. 1,000. That's not a typo. 1,000% by him coming to South Florida, which, by the way, Miami is the gateway to South America. That's what it's known for. It's the gateway to South America. Brazilians, it's just amazing what kind of traffic with money comes to South Florida. I mean, big money. So if you look at this article here, it says Lionel Messi's announcement that he plans to take his talents to South Beach. Again, South Beach is not Miami. Sent prices for Inter Miami tickets on the secondary market into the stratosphere Wednesday as fans clamored for a chance to see the Argentinian great play on U.S. soil. Now, look at what these numbers have gone to. The lowest price for a ticket for that game on Tuesday was $29. But on Wednesday, the same ticket price jumped to $329 for a single ticket. 1,000% jump in price. 1,000% jump in price. Messi's first game in a Miami jersey will likely be the most expensive MLS game on record ever. We also saw an almost instantaneous jump in Inter Miami ticket prices when the word got out that Messi was leaning towards joining the club. I don't know what they're going to do. The stadium's not going to fill enough people. I mean, not going to hold enough people for all the people that want to see Inter Miami play with Messi. It is an international crowd. It is global in nature. It's absolutely huge. If you've never been to South Florida, which I know most of you watching this are probably Dolphins fans, so you probably have been, but the international flavor down here is going to, I'm telling you right now, what's going to happen with Intermiami is going to rival that of the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, and the Florida Panthers. It will cause that much intense, just crazy fan base. You think the Dolphins fan base is crazy? You ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, look at the stadium here. This is Drive Pink Stadium with from Auto Nation as a sponsor, and they just really this was a dilapidated stadium over on Commercial Boulevard, and it just looks awesome right now. That's not enough seats. That's not going to be enough seats when Messi comes to town. This is in Fort Lauderdale. It wasn't made for 50, 60,000 people, but that's what's going to happen. They may need to move these games down to, the Hard Rock or something. Maybe that's where they end up playing, but they're going to blow the seat doors off this place. This will not hold enough people for what's going to happen here in South Florida. Messi coming to South Florida is going to be the biggest athletic event in the entire area. You think it was big with Tyreek coming to the Dolphins? You ain't seen nothing. The guy has 469 million global fans on Instagram. 469 million. That's more than probably Biden, Trump, Obama all together. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. That's how many people. Wait till you see the jersey sales. I'm wearing my Notre Dame shirt today, one of them, and I'm sure I'm going to get an Inter Miami shirt because they're going to be flying off the shelves here. I've only been to maybe 2 soccer games in my life. One of them was when I was in college. I can't wait to go, not just because it's soccer, but because it's an event. It's going to be in a fun place to be, and that entire area around Drive Pink Stadium is going to be monumentous, going to be extremely, I can't even tell you how big it's going to be for football in South Florida. I hope you liked today's show. Let me know in the comments what you think about Dalvin Cook and what you think about Tua becoming a leader and what you think about Messi coming down here. And let me know what you think about Stephen A's attempt to broaden his content and how you think about me broadening my content just from the Miami Dolphins to doing a lot more stuff. Talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.